everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on rashpixel.fm. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm right here with Nikki Kinzer.
Hello. Right over here. Hello, Pete Wright. How are you?
How are you?
Oh, we said that at the same time.
We did, and I'm going to go first because I'm so good. And I'm going to show you on the live stream. If you're on the live stream, Patreon supporters are on the live stream, they can see how exciting it is that I got a new lid for my water bottle. I have one of these giant tankards. Look at how huge this is. Look, it's like Jaws.
Did you lose your lid? Why do you need a new lid?
No.
This is like an
tankard is so troublesome.
lid.
Yes, because it used to be just a cap. You'd unscrew the thing and you'd drink it like a thermos. But you can't drive around with that because you're constantly pouring water on your face. So I got a sippy lid like a child.
You have an adult
like a
sippy
toddler
cup.
sippy cup, and it has made my life appreciably better.
Good for you.
And I love it so much. Yeah. So that's how good I am. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yes, it's the last day of
You don't have a
school
new sippy
for
cup.
my kiddos today.
I'm
when
so
we're
jealous.
recording this next week, when people are listening to it,
next week. Yeah,
they're going to already be in summer.
Then we're in alignment.
Yeah.
Yes. Good.
So yeah, I'm doing good.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, it totally changes the dynamic, and we're in that very much that. Well, in this case, it's sort of that senioritis vibe. Everybody's done. Everybody's very done. They're ready to be done and be out of it, and it makes evenings tough when there's still homework and final studying.
And you still have to get up early
in
the morning.
Oh, I don't know. I don't care for
I
it.
don't either. I'm glad it's done.
I don't care for it. But I am glad that we will, by this time next week, we'll be able to catalog our own successes. And that's what we're starting. This is sort of part 1 of 2 as we wrap up our spring season here at the ADHD podcast. We're going to be talking about how do you catalog your own success? How do you define your own success? That's what we're going to jump into here. But before we do that, a couple of announcements. First of all, head over to takecontroladhd.com, listen to the show right there, or subscribe to the mailing list right on the website, and we'll send you an email each time a new episode goes live. You can connect with us on Twitter or Facebook at Take Control ADHD and call us. No, you can't. We got rid of that phone number.
No, we still have it.
You can connect with us. We do? You haven't gotten rid of it?
No, because I paid for it before we decided to get rid of it, and it's a year thing. We still have the phone number. Well, call.
If you want to, you can call us, 503-664-4ADD.
Yeah, there
go
you
ahead.
go.
I triple dog dare you. In fact, this is a great week to do that because we're still collecting your success stories for our show next week. And you know what? Since we have this phone number that no one really ever used, this is your chance to make that number shine.
Yes, and I got to tell you, though, what's really funny about that phone number is right before I got on the call with you today, I noticed there was a message. And so I checked the message. Guess what?
A success story.
Won a free getaway somewhere for the weekend.
It's your own success story.
Yes. I don't know how I got that, but they're giving it to me. For free.
That's better because all of my voicemail that come in now are you are under arrest. Agents are watching your house.
Oh,
so
just
terrible.
Ridiculous.
Oh, they're just the worst. Hey, a quick plug. Check out Nomo Robo. I put that service on my iPhone, and it's just fantastic. Actually, with the caller ID, shows up a red dot and says Nomo Robo, like verified spammer. So you just don't even answer the phone.
Put that in the show notes.
Yeah. You got it. All right. Anyway, back to the game here that we're already playing. You can leave us your success story, 503-664-4ADD. Don't forget, we are cruising toward 100, our first major milestone. I'm going to call it 100 because I love round numbers. 100 supporters on Patreon. It continues to grow every single week, and it is heartwarming and fantastic and wonderful. And I just don't have enough words of exuberance to describe how cool it feels that listeners like you have reached out to us and supported us directly to do what we do and continue to plan to grow the show and in new ways. So thank you everybody who has already supported us. It's amazing to get those emails each time a new listener has joined us. You get access to the Facebook private group, which is fantastic, and people are sharing so many wonderful tools and pictures and stories of accountability, requests for accountability. You get to access the live stream, which we open up the live stream to anybody who wants to come join us and chat and ask questions when we record the show each week. And of course, you're contributing to our next major milestone on this show. So thank you so much, everybody. Please help us out. Head over to patreon.com/the ADHD podcast and jump in. We appreciate it. Okay, we've got just a little bit more
We
time
have one more announcement.
for group coaching.
Yes. Gosh,
You always think I'm going to forget
I know.
you.
You are so on top
Why
of
do
it.
you assume that I'm going to forget you?
I know. I'm wrong. You did not forget me, and I really appreciate that.
That is my success story
No
today.
kidding.
Yeah, so let's talk
group
about group coaching. One more, just a little bit more time. What is it? What are we down to? 2 weeks?
We are down
Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That'll be a week and a half
so
by the time
June
people hear
29th
this.
is the deadline to enroll. The actual groups themselves won't start until after the 4th of July holiday, so it will actually be the week of July 9th. I am so happy with the turnout, and I want more people to come. We still have probably half of the openings still left. I opened up a new session, a new evening session, just for another option for times. So please check it out. Go to the website, go to the show notes, check out group coaching. If you have any questions, you can, ask me directly, just send me an email or whatever. But I'd love to have you. And these are great groups. I love my groups, and I love the people in them, and I love the connection and the everything that we are doing in these things. So come join us.
How cool it is to have such a turnout that we've got to expand the groups. I
don't think I ever have expanded the group. So I think amazing. I am thrilled. And I am so thrilled too. I think we talked about this last week, that so many of you actually signed up, way beforehand. And that's awesome.
I don't know if you guys know this, but you have ADHD.
You do.
That's out of character for you people. That's a huge success.
And I am expecting and I am fully embracing that, the day before and the day of the deadline, I'm going to be getting emails, and that's totally cool.
There'll be more emails,
In
right?
fact,
that's right.
I'm so cool about it that you could probably even text me or, email me after the deadline, and I would still be okay with it.
That's how cool.
That's how cool
Nikki
this whole thing is.
Yeah.
But yes, I was really quite impressed with the people that got on it right away. So kudos.
Awesome. All right, jump in. Here we go. How, Nikki, do you measure success? Why'd you want to do the success story twofer here as we wrap up?
Well,
spring?
I'll tell you, it's been on my mind because we have been asking for success stories, right? For this last show of spring. We knew that this was coming up. And I did a Facebook Live yesterday about success because I also am doing a webinar around finding your success. Success is just in my world right now. But what I'm finding is that asking the question for our listeners to say, hey, come share with share with us your stories. This is a lot harder of a question to answer than I originally expected.
I was really surprised by that too. Just reading the stories that have come in, it seems like they all share that same tone. Like, I didn't know how to approach this. I don't know if I have anything to share.
Yes. And so we're not getting, honestly, just to be transparent, we're not getting as many as I thought we would get. I would have hoped to do 2 shows, like part 1, part 2, right?
Right.
And that's not happening.
Yeah.
We are getting some. So, I think it's going to be a great show regardless. But what I want people to know is that I think they're selling themselves short. I think that they have a lot more to share than they probably realize. Plus, when we have done surveys in the past and asked people, what do you want out of the show? What are you looking more for? Everybody wants to know more about successes. People want to know where people are thriving with ADHD. So I know it's really important for people to hear this. And one of the things that came that came from a Facebook post was that even she acknowledged that many people with ADHD just do not acknowledge when they have accomplished something, even if it's like really amazing. And when I read that, I was like, that is so true, which makes me believe, why this show and the next week's show and the webinar that I'm doing is so important, is for people to kind of wake up to and pay attention to these things, because they're all over you. They're all around you.
Yeah.
Over you and around you.
Yeah.
And on top of you and below you
and around
everywhere.
Through.
Yeah. We're just not seeing them. And I got to tell you something. So my son, the other day was telling me about something that he achieved academically. And he had some great praise from an essay that he wrote. And he was telling us this. And instead of just like kind of keep telling us and, being proud of himself, he said, well, I don't want to brag. And I thought, well, what makes you think you're bragging? And so I was like, no, Jaden, you're not bragging. You should be really proud of this. You worked really hard, and, the teachers acknowledging you for this. And we're really proud of you for all the hard work that you put into it. And so it really made me realize, like, even just as parents, society, the culture we live in, why we're not embracing our achievements, in a more positive way. What do you think?
That's really interesting. And I almost feel like we should do an episode like we did the reason and excuse episode, the pride and braggadocio episode, because there's a difference. There's a difference in doing it. And I think we're cultured. Our culture is one where pride is, is a sin in a lot of cultural contexts. It's one of the 7 deadly sins, right? And so, it's hard to be prideful and do so in a way that's, authentic and pure of heart, when you're taught that when you are
bragging,
prideful, it is a brag, right? Or it's a sin, or it's a terrible thing that you can't put yourself up, above others.
Right.
And so I think it's interesting to look at it that way. And I know it's hard for me. It's hard for me. I take my wins and I put them in my pocket, and I'll write them up in day one, and then I'll never, see them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because, it's just, and every day you could get a compliment 5 times that day, but then you get one comment that just sort of was that really a compliment, or was that like a passive aggressive way to tell me that I suck? Right.
Yeah.
And so then that's what you're thinking about. That's what you're ruminating about, is that one comment. And we do that as humans. And so that's where this inspiration came from this show, next week's show. And I hope to send this message, continuously, because I just think it's really important.
Pride is excessive belief in one's own abilities that interferes with the individual's recognition of the grace of God. It has been called the sin from which all others arise. Pride is also known as vanity.
Isn't that crazy?
It was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes men as angels. St. Augustine. How do you combat that? That's like word of God stuff.
Wow. I'm speechless.
That's the root.
I don't know. I disagree. And that's weird. It's hard. That's hard to say that.
Yeah.
But it's so.
I get it. There's a line. You can go over the line. And when you're a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's different about being thrilled with something that you've accomplished.
Well, and I'm going to tell you about the definition of success, because I don't agree with the definition of success either.
Oh, well, let's pivot right into that then.
There's so much I disagree about in this world.
Oh, look at you.
No, I'm kidding. That's not true. I love a lot of things, but these 2 things, that just doesn't rub the right way. But so the definition of success didn't really do it for me either, because this is what it says. I got to read my notes. Okay, here we go. I didn't memorize it. The definition of success, according to what I wrote, is the stupid dictionary, which goes back to that we didn't like the definitions.
Stupid dictionary last week.
What was it? Not of focus, but
reasons and excuses.
Yeah. All right. So this is what it is: the accomplishment of aim or purpose, the attainment of popularity or profit, or a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains prosperity. And I'll tell you why I don't like it in a minute. But what do you think of this definition?
Well, I don't like that success is so in 2 of the 3 of these, success is tied to rewards
and kind of money. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Like the attainment of popularity or profit, the person that achieves desired aims or attains prosperity. I don't like that. I feel like you just stop at achieves desired aims.
Right.
I really like the first one, the accomplishment of aim or purpose. You set out to do something and you do it. Let's make that a success. The others, I feel like that definition is so tied rooted in a capitalistic sort of foundation
Yes.
that I think it strikes at the kind of beating heart of our ability to appreciate the work that we've done.
Well, and that's it.
What do you
Appreciate the work that we've done to get to that accomplishment. Right. So I think that one of the things that I don't like about this is it's too restrictive. I think it only looks at one piece of it, and that's the outcome. They're not really looking at what it takes to get to that outcome. And so when I'm looking at it, I think, okay, accomplish, aim, or purpose. Well, I feel, this is just my opinion. I feel you can still be successful even if you didn't get what you wanted, even if you didn't get what you aimed for. Because, in reality, life is not fair, and we don't always get what we want. That's what I tell my kids all the time. Right. But that, I don't believe, makes us unsuccessful along the way. And I think this takes out the journey, the lessons that we learn along the way when we are trying for a new goal or trying for something that, seems out of reach. It's like, what happens regardless of the outcome. So I think it's just a very restrictive definition. I think part of it is right, like you said in that first one. I totally disagree with the popularity and the money, because you hear this. It's like you can have all the money in the world and be extremely unhappy and feel unsuccessful. You can be the most popular person in the world and be a beep. I won't say it.
Wow. You feel so strongly about it. You had to self-censor.
I had to censor myself.
Nikki.
But you know where I'm going.
Oh, I know where you're going.
And so, to me, this is just not, I just feel it's a crazy definition, and that's, I don't like it. I don't like it, Pete, right?
I don't care for it.
I do not care for it.
Well, and so interesting. So many. There's a study recently. We should dig it up for the show notes about that attempts to or purports to answer the question: can money buy happiness? And there you can hang your hat on. No, of course, money can't buy happiness. But it turns out money can buy happiness in some very specific contexts. People with resources who allow themselves to buy time are happier people, right? People, and I've been trying to do that, right? I feel like it's a huge success that I finally gave in to a long-held dream that I hire somebody to mow my lawn. I like my lawn more when I don't care for it.
Yes.
And I like my house more, and that has bought me time to free myself of what had become an enormous stress. Yes. And so I call that a success. That's an aim. That's a goal that I've been working toward. And it seems so silly, but it makes me want to, I actually think of it in terms of, I'm going to need to work one more hour this week so that I can go ahead and pay for my lawn care. Right. That is something, that's important to me. So,
well, and yes. And I think that goes back to this original question of asking our listeners, where have you found success in your life? Because we're not just looking at, I graduated, from college, or I graduated from high school, or I got this fantastic job that I've always wanted. It could be as simple as, what Pete's saying is that he finally decided to get somebody to mow that lawn. And that was, but it's a success. And I think that, when we talk about amazing successes, and this, I'm going back to the post that the gal was talking about, that we often don't see our amazing successes. Well, we also aren't seeing all the steps that it's taking for us to get there. And just the fact that you tried to me is a success. And I remember when my son was trying out for the basketball team, and, he had a 50-50 chance, right? I mean, he was either going to get on it or not. We didn't know. And the encouragement was, just go out, try your best, do what you can, and whatever happens, happens. And he didn't get on it. And that was okay. I mean, he was disappointed, and he found another rec team that he could play on. And, but I don't think it's fair to say that he didn't succeed just because he didn't actually make the team. He went through it. He tried, he gave it his best effort. And, there's all kinds of things that we can appreciate that I think that.
Well, part of the problem is that the word success is too often paired with failure,
Yes.
right? That it is a binary. It's a binary language, right? It's the language of either or, this or that. If you did not get on that team at that time, then you're a failure at basketball. That's the implication of that sort of language. And in this case, if the goal was, hey, I want to play basketball in an organized fashion on an organized team, then just not making it onto that team doesn't have to be the ultimate failure. Getting on any team, playing on any team, getting your, improving your skills is a success. And so it takes a leap of intellectual will to stop and say, you know what, I'm going to redefine this word for myself. I'm going to be a different person as a result of reframing how I think of success. And that's
it
important.
is so important. And I'm so glad you bring that up, because it really brings me up to my next point. And that's the limiting belief that you have maybe around what you think success is. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's, if what you think it is doesn't match what you really want it to be, or how you how you end up redefining it at some point, there's a disconnect there. So I've had conversations in the past before where people didn't feel successful because it wasn't what they thought their parents thought would be successful, or what other people thought would be successful. And so, going into, okay, a little deeper conversation of what makes their opinion so important that you feel unsuccessful, and how do we redefine this so that it's yours, it becomes your definition and your belief that actually serves you and not go against you, because you're right. Then it goes into failure, or feels like it's failure.
Well, and that was a big question I had for you going into this conversation. Is that fundamentally how you are sort of approached with this discussion of success with your clients? Like, is that kind of what you're hearing, is that people are not, they've defined success and failure based on somebody else's sort of external or extrinsic understanding of what it means to go for a win?
I think that a lot of the times it is. I would never say that it's the majority or it's the only reason, because I don't think it's all or nothing. But I can tell you there's been many, many conversations over the past years that I've had with clients that when it came right down to, do you feel successful as a mom, as a wife, as a husband, as a professional, it usually is them comparing themselves to what they think they should be, or comparing themselves to what they think other people's expectations are. So much that it goes back into, is this really truth? Do you know this for sure? That your coworkers are not happy with your performance? And then
like, if you went and asked them now,
what would they say? And, I've never had anybody actually do that, but it would be really interesting to see what they said. I mean, we don't know what they would say. But a lot of it is coming from these limiting beliefs and these expectations of what they think they should be. And should is it's a bad word. I mean, it's a loaded word. I mean, there is times where it makes sense, but there's a lot of times where it doesn't. So, and that's where I think it's so important that we have this conversation, is I really want people to not limit, what they think this means. And maybe we reword it. I mean, I do that a lot of times. Like when we talked about this with my group coaching, instead of goal, we're going to just talk about focus. What's your focus for the week? And maybe we reword, and not say it's a success. Maybe it's more about just thriving. Because the other thing is that somebody else pointed out that I think is really important to share, is that this is a work in progress. So just because we are not saying that, oh, you found your success, so now you don't have any more problems with ADHD.
Oh, Nikki, you just hit it. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I got to talk.
Please.
I'm taking over the camera.
Take it over.
Look, this is my number one challenge in my life, which is I'll set a goal, and I'll work hard toward the goal, and I'll break down all of the steps that it takes to accomplish the goal, and then I'll accomplish the goal. I will succeed, and I'm all high and mighty and proud of myself that I did it, likely not talking about it to anybody because that's also who I am. But then I stopped doing it altogether because I won. I'm done with that thing. I don't have it. And so that makes it so enormously difficult to create any lasting behavior change that is more than just a sprint, because I spent a lot of time focusing on how to manage sprints in my life and, how to manage in the day-to-day work that I'm doing, how to use it to get things done. That was a major accommodation to help me live with and in partnership with my ADHD. And now I've landed on it, but it also makes it really hard to change my behavior for the rest of my life. I'm thinking specifically about, physical fitness. And, I have these 3 great apps, right? The 6 weeks to do X numbers of exercises. I couldn't do a pull-up to save my life, but I wanted to do 20 in a row, and I did it. And I could take my big, heavy bones, and I could pull myself up and down 20 times in a row. And once I accomplished that, I thought, oh, well, I guess at least I know I can do it. And I never did a pull-up again.
Right.
And now I can't do pull-ups again. I should still be able to do pull-ups.
Yeah.
But I never
should you?
changed that
I don't know.
behavior.
I mean, that,
Well,
yeah.
Just in the
Right.
context of staying healthy and strong, that's an area where should, I think, really applies. I should be able to continue to be strong for thrivance purposes. Like in order for me to be able to thrive, I need to be healthy and strong and keep my muscles working. And I just stopped doing it because I thought, well, at least I know I can. And now I'm done. That is a real challenge for me when all of my accommodations have been just get through the next moment, just accomplish the next thing on the list.
But I think that's really telling what you just said. Being in the moment and accomplishing what is next on the list. I think that what you're explaining isn't just an ADHD thing, especially when it comes to exercise, right? I mean, gosh, I'm a living example of that.
Right.
And it's complicated. And I'm still trying to figure out why we can get into these habits and be so good for so long. And then, they just drift. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. What I can say is that when I was going back to the point of just because you have achieved the 20 pull-ups, it doesn't mean your ADHD goes away. It doesn't mean that can't still be something that you continue to do. But then now we got to figure out a different way to maintain it. Now we got to figure out a different way to keep it in our lives and to keep it important. And I'm trying to figure that out. Like, how can I reframe how I think of exercise so that I can still get the movement in without feeling the dread of having to do it 30 minutes every morning? So I think it's a constant work in progress. And that's really, where I want us to celebrate the wins along the way. And just the fact that you did it before is a win because you can do it again. And maybe you don't do 20, maybe then, because you're getting older there, my friend.
Hey,
I'm kidding. I have to throw a little humor in here. But now whatever it is, is that you're doing what you can. And what in my own personal journey, what I have found is that I just can't give up on myself. Like, I have to know I know it's important. I know that the fitness and the health and all of that is really important. And I just can't give up paying attention to it. And as long as I'm still paying attention to it and still making some effort, I feel like I'm winning, you know?
That's huge. Right.
And that's where I want people who have ADHD and they're dealing with all of these different struggles, because it certainly is more than just having what you explain. I mean, it affects you in so many different ways, is to really just recognize, the small wins, get you to the bigger, amazing accomplishments. And then, you got to kind of figure out what's next after that.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm, just sort of trying to explain is that, we all deal with this. Obviously, we all deal with this. And for me, I think it is exacerbated by the accommodations I put in place to support my ADHD.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, because now it means that changing one thing means I have to in some way approach, my accommodations differently. And so it to your point, it's a work in progress, but every day is a success if you are learning from what you're trying to do, if you're trying new things, if you continue to put thought and approach to it, if you don't, as you say, give up. And so what's the challenge?
Well,
for
I have
us?
a little bit of a challenge, kind of a fun little challenge, is to ask the listeners to think about, how do they define their success, and what does that mean to them? So we, just to give them an example, because people like examples. I know for me, if I've tried, I feel like I've succeeded. If I had the right intentions in going into something, I feel like I'm good. And if I can say I really learned from the experience, then I feel like I've succeeded. Even more so, if I can learn from that experience and actually take action, wow, hallelujah. To me, that's an amazing success, because a lot of times it's hard to learn and not actually change. So that's what I want people to do, is think about, how they define it, how they measure it, and then take a piece of paper, maybe in a journal, however you want to document this. You have day one. You could easily do something like this on the computer, right? Is it called day one?
Day one,
Evernote, whatever you want,
wherever we're going to put it.
But document times in your life, not just one or two, but different times in your life where you felt happy, you felt proud of yourself. I'm ignoring the whole pride thing as being an angel becoming a devil thing. No. Yeah. When were you most proud? When did you feel like you were resilient? Where you persevered through something? And the great thing is this list belongs to you. So you don't have to feel, any kind of concern about bragging. There's no judgment here. This is for you. And keep adding to it, keep adding to this list. And what I hope it does for you is it's a great reminder of how awesome you are, how awesome everything that you do and how it affects you, but not only the world, whether you know it or not, it does. And that ADHD doesn't define you. Who you are as a person isn't your ADHD. And that's what, these documentation of these stories and these moments, that's where it counts.
Do you know what I like to think about when we do this? I think about my mother.
You do?
Yeah, and you should think about your mother too, because when you're a kid and you do something special, you do a spelling bee, you get up and do a play, even if you're a tree in a school play in the sixth grade,
the
right?
Most awesome thing.
Right. Your mother always talks about you in the most florid language, right? The most exuberance. If you were your own mother, how would you document your successes? Yeah. That's the exercise. Yeah. How would you talk about yourself if you were your own mother?
Absolutely.
Now, unless you have a terrible relationship with your mother,
then don't do that. But find somebody else.
If your mother was one of those mothers that actually, was super proud of the tree, how would you document your own language?
Love that.
So as far as that model goes, play with it. I think it's fun. I added, as a result of us planning the show in my little day one daily template, I just added daily win. Yes, what's the daily win?
I love that.
I just have to fill it in. Daily win, fill in the blank. What did I do that was a thing that I can be proud of today? The thing that I accomplished, that I finished, that I tried something new, that I, whatever.
And can I just give you?
I'm going to do it too.
Yes. And I can just, again, I'm talking about little things. I was proud of myself for doing the dishes yesterday.
That's a good example.
I did not want to do them. I was going to leave them. I didn't care for them. I wasn't, but I thought, no, I'm going to go ahead and at least do some of it. And then I ended up doing all of it. And I was really happy with it. I was like, wow, look what I just did.
Yeah. I did the dishes. I'm amazing.
I'm an amazing mom for doing the dishes
there you
of
go.
My kids.
You did the dishes.
Yeah. So anyway, but
I think it's great.
Yeah, there you go.
That's perfect. Well, thank you, Nikki, and thank you everybody for hanging around with us this fine hour, and we sure appreciate it. Try it out, give it a shot, share your results, and we'll talk about more success stories next week. We appreciate your time and attention, everybody. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. Catch you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.